Totally.
Awesome. So the reason I'm like super excited to do this is because I scan Kickstarter for comic books that I'm interested in every couple of weeks, and yours drew me in immediately with the artwork. And then I started reading about the story and everything that you had on there, and I was just really, really excited to read it. And then I joined the Kickstarter and you sent it out, and I was in the airport when you sent out the digital copy, and I like devoured it in like 5 minutes. I'm in love with it.
Yay!
So
oh God.
I only do this for people I really want to pour my energy into promoting, because like we do creator profiles and stuff, but normally when like Titan Comics or someone else like gives them to us,
Yeah.
I've been seeking out people that I really want to promote. So I'm super excited to talk to you. I'm super excited to talk about your work. But just to get started, I just want to know like what drew you to comic books, what inspired you to make this story. Like, just give me a little bit of background on you.
For comic, I guess I'm just obviously I'm a really visual person. And I've always been like I've always created stories, even when I was little. I probably would say originally when I was a little kid, I wanted to make video games.
Okay, cool.
Just like anime or like, some type of animated series.
Right.
And then what I had access to was making comics. That's just something that anybody can make. And so, yeah, I guess it was just kind of the attainable way to put my stories that I have in my head out there, without having to commit to, writing and,
Right.
I just, yeah.
No, that's totally fair. The last creators I was talking to said something similar. It's something anyone can do if you have the talent for it. Not everyone can make a comic by themselves. It's normally a multi-person, multi-step process, which I think it ends up being for everybody. But if you can draw and write your own comic, that's already a really impressive skill that you possess.
Definitely. I can after, this is actually my second comic. I have a graphic novel before this that I did all hand draw and everything. And so this one, I actually finally had access to an iPad.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
able to like complete it in a lot, faster, just a lot faster process. And yeah, that's.
I would love to know what your like inspiration or thought process was when creating this story. What made this be what you wanted to publish?
Well, sci-fi is like my main focus.
Yeah.
And I do like to do what I call like metaphysical sci-fi. So kind of mixing in, just different like metaphysical or slightly spiritual aspects into it. But for this one, I actually had a dream with the two main characters. And it was really simple. It was just kind of like just a visual of the two of them just like cuddling and in this like really, comforting embrace. And I woke up and was like, oh, I have to draw this. And I like was like in the morning, early drawing it out all fast.
I love it.
Out really fast. And then it just kind of cascaded from there, and it became a really therapeutic project to draw these two. And then the story just kind of developed from that, from continually drawing the two of these. So I guess I would say it's very intuitive, my process would be, or with that,
right.
Creating the story. It just kind of like came in little pieces, and I definitely tried to not force anything.
That's totally fair. No, I as an aspiring screenwriter, I believe that forced writing only ends up bad writing. So you got to kind of just let it happen.
Definitely.
And if that means you don't touch a project for 6 months, it means you don't touch a project for 6 months.
Oh yeah, that's this well the graphic novel before this, the Through the Cognitive Rift is what it's called, and I created the concept. The concept came to me really quickly, just kind of like, I don't know, download or whatever.
Right.
But it took me it still took me about 10 to 12 to I was like 13 years, was it, to actually finish the concept,
Yeah.
because it was not perfect.
Hmm.
I want to produce something that had plot holes in it, or just like little
Right.
here and there. I'm always trying to like, I feel like I'm quick to pick out a plot hole, so I'm like, I want to cover all my grounds and stuff and get it exactly how I want it.
Me too. I get that. And I'm sure everyone reading your work appreciates it as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So we talked about comic books kind of being the attainable thing to do. Do you also read a lot of comic books?
I used to read. I honestly used to read a lot more when I was younger.
For sure.
I At one point I think I had a huge box. It was mostly, at the time, I mostly had Harley Quinn comics, the original series of her own offshoot one.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And but somehow in a move, I don't know if it was, I can't blame anybody, but either way, the box disappeared. I had
Oh
roommates
no.
who happened. Yeah. So after that, it was just a big, after like lose most of your collection, I just kind of stopped collecting. But that was a really big part. I mean, I shouldn't say was, I'm still passionate. And I guess right now it's like I collect Saga, that's like
Oh, I see. Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
good,
I've heard
classic.
many good things
Oh
about
yeah.
anyone else that reads comics always recommends that one to me. So
Like, I feel like that's what you kind of recommend to people, like if you haven't really read comics or something, it's
right.
like an intro to. Yeah.
That's good. So do you have a favorite like comic book character?
Um, I don't know. That's so hard to pick. I might even switch to manga and say Guts from Berserk, just because
Okay.
he's such a tragic character. When I think about, like, I don't know why, I'm just drawn to the tragedy.
Totally.
He's just complicated, and I mean, I guess that's probably one of my favorite, like, complicated characters.
Awesome. No, I mean, I everyone's drawn to something, right? Like
Mhm.
some people like the slice of life comics. Some people are like, I like how powerful this character is. Like drawn to the tragedy makes sense. I mean, my favorite character is Wanda.
Oh, there you
So
go.
me too, I guess.
Nice. Mhm.
Um, that's great. So we talked about your graphic novel taking quite a long time to finish. From
Mhm.
beginning to end, how long was the process for you for this
For
one?
this new one,
Yeah.
I say, um, probably about 2 years,
Okay.
or maybe 3 years about. And I'd say the story kind of collected around the 2 years, and then I was able to. Well, I guess what I try to write as much as possible, so I do have a lot written, and then I go into the storyboarding,
Right.
and then and then work off of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but this obviously a lot shorter this time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So this one flowed a little bit easier, and I also am kind of taking a looser approach with it. I'm a Virgo, and I'm like all perfectionist and everything. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely, this one, I'm just not stressing myself out about it, and maybe that helped with my process too.
Absolutely.
Not
Yeah.
getting tripped up, and also it having digital form, being able to just click delete and erase is
Helps a lot, I'm sure.
yeah, definitely.
Is there going to be more to this story? Like, are you continuing with these characters in this world?
Yes, for sure. I don't have a set amount of issues decided yet, but it's
Right.
definitely continuing for
Okay,
a
good.
lot longer. Yes.
That was more of a fan question than a like formal interview question. I want to know if I'm getting more.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, she's building stuff. Like there's stuff happening. I want more, please. Like,
Yeah. I'm definitely really focusing on the world building aspect of this whole concept too.
that it's great. I love it. It felt like, okay, so I want to see if I can make these comparisons in a way that's gonna make sense. the animation, like the art style felt like Buzz Lightyear of Star Command to me. Like
Cool.
that's like, because that was like a core part of my childhood, that movie that nobody remembers and you can't find on Disney Plus or anywhere else. Like that, it was just like core animation in my brain. So I think that's probably what drew me to it. And then the world building already starts to feel like Doctor Who a little bit.
Oh, cool.
And
Nice.
so just know that those are compliments coming from the
Yeah.
bottom of my heart, even though they might sound like weird comparisons.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. Yeah. That's oh yeah, sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say there.
No, it's okay. Have you already started working on the next issue, or are you working on a different project right now?
Right now I'm taking just a little break to try to promote the comic and everything because it's
Sure.
hard being also the manager of myself.
Oh, of
But
course.
I do already have the second issue already completely written up, and
Yay.
it would just be storyboarding and getting going on that.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I also went to your website because I plan on buying more of your art as well.
Oh, awesome.
Do you also do just like, so you have a graphic novel out and now the comic, do you have do you just draw and put like prints up on your website, or like just I drew this, people should see it kind of thing?
Well, I guess I do my my graphic novel comic stuff, and then the other medium I work in is Scratchboard. So
Okay.
it's like where it starts off all black and then I scratch the black to get the white underneath.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like a reductive process. So I create a lot of originals of those, and then the ones that maybe get a good reaction, then I'll make prints of those.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
Yeah, I sell the originals too, and have some little gallery showings here in San Francisco.
That's cool.
So it's kind of like I've kind of split my career into these different compartmentalized, areas.
Yeah.
And it definitely helps me, I guess, to not just exhaust myself. And then I can have my fine art stuff, and then I can just do whatever the hell I want with my comics. And, it's like a little
Love
bit more
that.
thing, and yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What art medium did you start with?
Pen and ink. So that was, pen and ink is what I've done since I was, like a kid.
Mhm.
And then I was pretty much filling in the entire background with black ink because I like that, that dark kind of a
Yeah.
vibe. So that's when I found Scratchboard, which starts off all black. And then
Mhm.
and also I'm a little dyslexic too. So the process of, revealing the light instead of adding shadow really works for the way that my mind is
Yeah,
wired.
for sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of, yeah.
I'd imagine that's also harder for a lot of people too, because you really have to be able to see what you want in order
Yes,
to do something like that.
it is. It's a little bit like sculpture in that way that I kind of have to really visualize what the image is going to be.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll do like a light impression on the top of the Scratchboard to kind of, guide
Help you
me.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes I just jump right in and go for it. And since it's not a forgiving medium, it's like, if sometimes it's like a tentacle's going this way, I guess, or a wire's going. That's
You're like, this is just the way this is now. Okay. No, that's awesome. So you said you live in San Francisco, which pretty good art town. Yeah.
yeah.
So have you found lots of places to kind of get your artwork out there?
Yes, I'm a part of a co-op gallery called City Art Gallery that I show a lot at here.
That's so
And
cool.
there's the San Francisco Women's Gallery that I'm also a part of. And yeah, there's just actually like a lot of really cool art pop-ups here, especially in the last 2 years after the pandemic. A lot of artists just kind of like band together and
Right.
made sure that there's opportunities here for everyone. So I'm
That's
really,
really awesome.
yeah, I'm super grateful for that.
That's great. So I have to ask, just because I ask all my creators this, because there's a trend to the creators I pick for this. The world is getting better, I guess. But as someone who creates LGBTQ comics, do you feel any pressure for representation, like that this is something that you are putting into the world and there's still not a lot of it?
Yeah, yes, definitely. I worry in multiple aspects. First of all, I do want to have, I mean, there's gonna be a lot more characters that are involved. There's a whole planet and there's a whole space station to
For
like.
sure, for sure.
Um, so I want to represent the wider range of LGBTQ, and also at the same time, uh, there is a little pushback from certain parts of the public, and I I think I had, when I was doing my Kickstarter, I ran an ad on Facebook, but I don't really check Facebook, so I just kind of like let it go. And at one point, I looked, and there was just these like comments from, I don't know what
Old
kind of people.
ladies.
Yeah, they're just
Oh,
old men, and they were like, "What's this, bullshit on my feed?" And like,
uh-huh.
I mean, I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot that you guys are around." I forgot you're still here. I mean, I
And
should.
they mostly live on Facebook.
Oh, I guess so, because I didn't have that. I don't really get much of a hurtful, you know what I mean, like a negative response from Instagram or other
Oh, for
parts
sure.
of media.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but there is like a little bit of a fear that if I'm more exposed, I'll get even more of a pushback.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then approaching comic book stores, I'm like, don't you want gay aliens here? And I'm kind of trying to wrap my head around the idea that maybe not everyone does. So, but we'll see.
Unfortunately, that seems to be part of the process. And I mean, on top of that, you're a woman presenting writer, and that generally also doesn't go over well in the world of comic books. In the
Yeah.
big two, female writers are 28.7% across both companies,
Wow.
which is pitiful. And
Yeah.
then not just of writers, of creators,
Wow.
artists, inkers, letters, editors, all of the women involved in Marvel and DC are 28 point something percent. And so
Yep.
we're on a very slow upward trend. But another reason why I think promoting smaller creators is important.
Absolutely.
Do you have any like current or past, I guess, comic book writers or creators that like that's the work you really, I guess, aspire to or take inspiration from?
Probably Michael Turner.
Okay.
That was probably one of the first comics that I started collecting was Michael Turner's Tomb Raider, and then Witchblade and Fathom, and his style, rest in peace, is that's probably what I looked at the most when I was a little kid and was like, ooh, that's how I want to draw boobs. I'm like, that was probably like what I modeled took most of my inspiration from.
Right.
And then also I'd say Kentaro Miura that wrote Berserk, is the way he displays action scenes and like movement. I really love.
That's awesome. I love that. As being a part of the industry, are you hoping to like stick to your own originals and build a name that way, or are you interested at all in writing for existing characters?
I'd probably say I'm mostly interested in just producing my own creations, my own content. I did actually have an interview with Dark Horse when I was 19.
Oh wow.
It was really cool. It was not like they looked over my portfolio and everything.
Right.
And they said, I don't know what I was thinking in my 19-year-old head. I was like, ooh, they're gonna sign me up to have me do my own comic. I don't know what. And they were like, okay, I think you can have a job here as an inker, but you need to work on it. Obviously it wasn't like ready yet. And then I realized right then, I was like, oh, I don't want to ink somebody else's work. I just want to my own. So it's like, okay, never mind. I don't actually want to pursue this. Not that I was given the job or anything, but it was still kind of like a realization right then. I was like, yeah, I just want to make my own.
No, for sure. I think everyone has to balance that out, Do you want to work on someone else's work for near a decade at the chance of doing your own, or do you just want to work on your own and blaze your own path into the industry? I feel like most creative careers are like that. You could have an opportunity working for someone else in the field you want,
Yeah.
or you could create your own stuff and hope really hard.
Yeah, I know it's a much like it's a much harder path to take, but
For sure.
that's gonna make me happy. So there's not really an option.
Yeah,
So.
no, absolutely. I'm totally in agreement with that. It's a little harder on the screenwriting end. You gotta kind of just
Ooh,
do what you're told. There's go where the
yeah,
opportunity is and suck it up.
totally. And there's a lot of are you down in LA? Is
I
that
am.
yeah, no, and there's a lot of people trying to get in there with their
Everyone's trying to do the same thing, and there's literally thousands of us. The easier part that I'm trying to take is, I mean, I do this. I work for Temple of Geek, so
Mhm.
I don't know, make connections that way, and then like sneak in there.
Weasel in there.
Do the cheater way of the it's who you know, not what you know, which is how Hollywood runs. So it's
I was
fine.
like, I'm cheating. I'm pretty sure that's yeah.
So as comic book movies are kind of taking over the world right now, and have been for the last decade, I guess. Thank you, MCU. Do you want to stay in the on the page medium, or are you at all interested in like creating an animated series or a live action for the work you've done so far?
Oh, I would love to do an animated series. Probably not a live action because I mean, I
Doesn't
mean,
really work the same.
yeah, it would be. I'm imagining Sig, like the gray character, and like it would just be so. It's almost like too eerie. I don't know. I mean, maybe it would be really cool to see, but
If you had a great budget, absolutely.
yeah, like top notch. But otherwise, I've always been animated series or just a movie or whatever, something animated
Mhm.
would be ideal. That would be awesome.
I think that would be really cool for the series too. I would love this as an animated series.
Me too.
Awesome. So do you have any other story ideas in your brain, or are we focusing specifically on more issues of this one?
I'm mostly focusing on this one. I am eventually going to make a continuation, our second of the first graphic novel,
Awesome.
but it's a little bit heavier. It's kind of like psychological sci-fi.
Yeah.
It doesn't have like the fun feel of it. So that's more of like my therapy.
Totally fair.
Yeah. So I kind of will have the two, but mostly focusing on M83 or the M33.
For sure. Is that first graphic novel still available somewhere? Where
It
could
is-
one buy those?
Yes, you can get it on my website, nataliemckeenart.com.
Perfect. Again, that was another fan question. I mean, other people could use it too, but that was for me. Awesome. So, I mean, I'm pretty quick with my interviews. That's about all I had for you.
Cool,
But
cool.
I am super excited to promote this. I will email you the official like website interview and everything, and any
Cool.
social media that I decide to put up.